Have you ever watched a political debate and wondered if it really mattered? You're not alone. A shocking 70% of Americans believe that political debates often fail to provide any real answers. Instead, they turn into shouting matches, full of sound and fury but lacking substance. Studies show that only about 10% of viewers actually feel informed after watching a debate. In today's world, where division runs deep, these debates should be opportunities for understanding. Yet, they often just deepen the divide. Did you know that a 2020 survey found that 60% of people see debates as entertainment rather than serious discussions? With so much at stake, it's time to ask, are we really getting the information we need? In this article, we'll explore why most political debates are a waste of time. We'll look at how they create an illusion of meaningful dialogue, rely on emotional manipulation, reduce complex issues to buzzwords, and offer better alternatives for real conversation. Join me as we uncover the truth behind these high-stakes events. Get ready to rethink what you thought you knew about political debates. Chapter 1: The illusion of meaningful dialogue. Political debates are often framed as platforms for people to engage in meaningful discussions. But let's be real, how many times have you walked away from one feeling truly enlightened? The reality is, most debates are more about performance than conversation. In fact, research from Pew Research Center shows that 55% of people believe debates do little to help them understand political issues. The problem lies in the structure. Debates are often staged events where candidates or speakers deliver rehearsed answers. Instead of addressing complex issues in depth, they throw around talking points designed to appeal to their base. It's not about engaging with the other side or finding common ground, it's about scoring points. Take presidential debates, for instance. A study by Harvard's Schornstein Center found that only 10% of debate time is spent discussing policies in any meaningful detail. The rest is filled with personal attacks, vague statements, or efforts to dodge difficult questions. It's no surprise then that these debates leave viewers frustrated and polarized. Debates should be an exchange of ideas. But in today's format, they've become more like mini TV dramas where each side has its script. This illusion of dialogue is dangerous because it makes us think we're hearing both sides when, in reality, we're not getting any deeper understanding. Chapter 2: Echo Chambers, the silent killer of critical thinking. Now let's talk about echo chambers. We hear this term a lot, but do we really grasp its impact on political debate? An echo chamber occurs when people surround themselves with information that reinforces their own beliefs while filtering out opposing viewpoints. This isn't just a theory, it's happening everywhere, especially online. A 2020 study published in PNAS, Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, found that 70% of people primarily engage with news sources that align with their own political views. That's a huge number. Instead of being exposed to a variety of perspectives, people end up reinforcing their pre-existing opinions. This is especially true in social media bubbles, where algorithms feed us more of what we already like. So, when people enter debates, they're often not looking to learn. They're looking to confirm what they already believe. The debate becomes a space where both sides are essentially speaking past each other. No one is really listening, and no one is changing their mind. In fact, according to Cass Sunstein, author of #Republic, Divided Democracy in the Age of Social Media, echo chambers don't just strengthen existing beliefs, they radicalize them. People become more extreme in their positions because they're never exposed to real counterarguments. This is why debates in echo chambers rarely lead to understanding, they're reinforcing, not questioning. Chapter 3: Debating for the win, not the truth. Most political debates have shifted from being about truth-seeking to winning. This competitive approach has roots in ancient rhetoric but has evolved into something much less productive. Historically, debates in ancient Greece aimed at discovering truths through dialectics. Today, it's about who can deliver the best soundbite. Modern debates are now about winning the audience rather than discovering what's right. In fact, a survey conducted by YouGov showed that 60% of people view debates as a form of entertainment rather than serious discourse. Candidates or speakers know this, so they craft their arguments to sway emotions, not inform the public. A good example of this is when debates devolve into personal attacks or what's called ad hominem fallacies. Instead of refuting the argument, they attack the person. This tactic is so common that it's practically expected. But it shifts the focus away from issues and onto personalities, which doesn't help anyone understand the actual problem being discussed. This strategy isn't just ineffective, it's dangerous. It encourages an us versus them mentality, which deepens political divides. Instead of coming closer to consensus, we're pushing further apart. The focus on winning also makes it easier to ignore inconvenient facts. Instead of grappling with uncomfortable truths, debaters stick to what they think will win them the most applause. As Jonathan Haidt, author of The Righteous Mind, argues, people are less interested in finding the truth and more interested in winning moral arguments. In debates, this leads to a type of moral grandstanding where each side tries to claim the moral high ground. The result? Lots of emotional appeal, little substantive discussion. Chapter 4: Emotional Appeals, the art of manipulation in political debates. Emotional appeals have become the go-to strategy. Why? Because they work. Studies show that people are more likely to remember and react to emotional content than logical arguments. According to Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize-winning author of Thinking, Fast and Slow, humans tend to make decisions based on intuition and emotion rather than rational thought. This is why politicians often rely on fear, anger, or hope to sway voters during debates. They know that facts alone won't do the trick. The emotional impact of a statement can linger far longer than any statistic. But the problem with this strategy is that it distorts the conversation. Rather than debating ideas, it becomes a competition to see who can provoke the strongest emotional reaction. For example, think about how often you hear phrases like, "Our democracy is at stake," or, "They're coming for your freedoms." These types of statements trigger an immediate emotional response, but they rarely provide any real substance. They're designed to manipulate, not inform. A report from the Journal of Political Communication found that emotional appeals, especially fear-based ones, reduce the likelihood of viewers engaging with facts or nuanced arguments. In other words, once emotions are heightened, critical thinking goes out the window. This isn't by accident, it's a deliberate strategy. Even the choice of language is crafted to stir emotions. Political debaters use loaded words, framing their arguments in ways that push buttons. Instead of saying, taxes, they might say, government theft. Rather than, immigration policy, it becomes, border crisis. This language isn't neutral, it's meant to provoke feelings, not thoughtful discussion. As author George Lakoff explains in Don't Think of an Elephant, political language is a tool for controlling the narrative. When debaters frame their arguments in emotional terms, they're guiding you to a particular reaction. And once that reaction takes hold, it's hard to think objectively. Chapter 5: Complex Issues Reduced to Buzzwords. Another major flaw in political debates is how they oversimplify complex issues. Most people tune in for just a few minutes, and debaters know this. So, they boil down huge, nuanced problems into simple, catchy buzzwords. It's easy to remember but doesn't give us the full picture. For instance, take the term, job-killing regulations. It's a common phrase, but it tells you almost nothing about the actual policy in question. It plays on a fear of unemployment without explaining how or why certain regulations exist. In reality, most regulations are far more complex, balancing environmental, economic, and social concerns. But you wouldn't know that from the debate stage. This is why many experts argue that debates are the worst format for discussing policy. The Washington Post once reported that only 14% of debate time is spent on policy details. The rest is taken up by sound bites and slogans designed to stick in the viewer's mind. But these slogans often strip away the complexity that makes real discussion possible. A study by the Annenberg Public Policy Center showed that political buzzwords and sound bites reduce the ability of the public to critically assess policies. It's hard to make an informed decision when the issues are dumbed down to simplistic terms. Consider climate change. Instead of diving into the details of scientific reports or economic impact studies, it's often reduced to slogans like Green New Deal or War on Coal. Both sides use catchphrases to sway opinion, but they skip over the fact that climate policy is a web of interconnected issues: energy, economics, jobs, and technology. This kind of oversimplification isn't helpful for anyone. Debates should be about clarifying these issues, not reducing them to buzzwords. But because of time limits and the need to win over viewers quickly, that's what happens. We're left with a shallow understanding of deep problems. Thank you for watching. If you found this exploration of political debates insightful, please subscribe for more engaging discussions. Let's continue to challenge the status quo and seek out better ways to communicate about the issues that matter.